In a recent podcast, I talked to Chris Shaw about the use of voice technology in the social housing sector. And it got me thinking about the Internet of Things and the implications this may have for housing associations. So Chris joins me again today to chat in more detail about this. Chris, before we start thinking about the social housing sector in particular, what is the Internet of Things?
The Internet of Things tends to be a sensor-type device that collects data and sends that information to a platform that can analyse it and then do something about it. If the data, e.g., is performance-related, and the latest data received from the sensor says it's outside of an acceptable level, the platform could create an action to look into the problem, and that could be, sound an alarm, escalate to someone to investigate the problem. IoT is also used to control devices, and we have these probably in our own homes already, like turning the heating up or down, switching the hot water on or off, switching the light on or off, switching plugs on and off. That's what it tends to be in the terms of what an Internet of Things device is.
Okay, so that's made it a little bit clearer. So how do you think this can be used in the social housing sector?
So for housing associations, they have all these properties that they're managing, and within these properties, they've got assets. And these assets, they can be anything like a gas boiler, a water heater. And the housing associations are responsible for maintaining those. And they tend to only get cold when they break. But if they had an IoT device on these, they would be able to pick up information about how it's performing. And if it was failing, they'd be able to be alerted to that. So the IoT device and sensor on the asset could be collecting this performance information. And if it dropped below an acceptable level, or the direction of travel from the performance information it's been collecting is leading to a failure, that IoT platform could set up a proactive visit to the customer to fix the problem before they're left with no heating or hot water. So that's within the customer's property. But then also housing associations manage lots of flats, and in those flats they have lots of communal areas. So IoT sensors could be deployed in lighting, and let's say the bulb fails, that platform can alert the housing association that the bulb's failed, book a visit in to replace the bulb, and parallel to that happening, you could get the platform to alert all the residents that the repair's been booked and somebody's doing something about it.
That sounds pretty good. Are housing associations then starting to use this technology? And if they're not, what are some of the barriers that they're talking about?
Some housing organisations have already deployed these solutions into their customers. Some are using it to control the heating and hot water. And, we've seen some housing associations report savings of 10% on the use of these devices over their energy bills. We're also seeing IoT solutions being used in care and support operations to look after the welfare of the customers. And that can be, having sensors deployed for somebody falls or if they're moving about, or sensors in lighting for lighting to come on. There's still a small uptake in the use of IoT in social housing. And I think some of this is lack of data related to the social housing sector's use of IoT and being able to fully understand and quantify those benefits. I think also sometimes when people are looking at these costs or looking at replacing the assets that are in their own properties, they're only looking at the initial cost of that asset and not doing the whole life cycle cost of buying the asset and then maintaining the asset. And I think a different view needs to be taken in, leaning more to that whole life cycle cost of the asset rather than that initial purchase.
So if someone from a housing association is listening to this and is thinking they can see some benefits to them, what would you advise they do?
I think start with a small pilot. Look at the benefits that are coming from that pilot. Look at the data that you're getting back. See how it's actually changing the way that you operate currently, and build that into then a bigger business case, which can be used to support the wider deployment, across all of your properties or into all of your tower blocks or, etc. Just so you can, start to prove that there's some real benefit in using this technology, because, it's being used widely in private sectors to lower their cost of operations. We've been doing work with other organisations and on helping them develop a business case or set up a pilot. So, if you're interested, get in touch.
Chris, that's great. Very good advice there. And thanks again for your insights on today's podcast.
Thank you.